Is it on?
It
is! You see that little red light?
Oh, hey!
Hello, people out there!
So for this, do we look into the camera or do we look really
I would say we're talking to our supporters right now.
Donors and supporters and loved ones. We did have an adventure. We did go to Scotland. The trip was not as long as we expected, but that's okay. God had other plans for us elsewhere. So after a wonderful evening in Scotland, meeting the people of the camp, meeting the workers, and getting to see the camp itself, which is beautiful, by the way.
It was
Wasn't it just gorgeous? We did go back to the U.S. due to some paperwork issues, but we decided to go to a camp in Illinois. They were just starting up, and they could use some extra help, so there we were. Worked out very well. We had a whole nother adventure in Illinois.
Well, this trip was definitely a new experience for me. That's what I was hoping to get out of it because I've been on several mission trips before, and as I got to go to Illinois, just being able to meet the staff there was completely different from what I thought, but it was great. Building those friendships, the relationships with the staff, being able to share stories from our camp, and they shared stories with their camp. A lot of them wanted to have us come back. That was a really cool thing. They just treated us like family. They really cared about us, just jumping in at the last minute.
Before the trip, I was really looking forward to a lot of things. I was looking forward to the whole process and just the growth and seeing the apprentices go through that whole experience. I got to see all of the apprentices excel in their area. I saw Danny and Garrett get to learn how to dance and teach a lot of little kids, swing dancing and line dancing, a whole bunch of stuff. That was great. And soccer. Matt was up on stage worshiping with the worship band. Melissa worked on media stuff. And another one of our team members, ACL, he was up there rapping and he worked on a website. So it was so exciting to see each and every individual person excel in their field. And by excelling in their field, they helped out this camp and they helped out the campers. So that was exciting for me. I was also very excited just to develop the relationships. And while before I thought there were going to be more relationships over in Europe, still developed incredible relationships in Illinois, and both with the campers and the staff. It was an incredible time investing in them, learning from them, teaching them stuff, and just creating those friendships that I think will last a really long time.
I stated before that I was really excited to go to Scotland to see a huge new perspective on camping and just how another country does it. And though I wasn't there for the Scotland camp, we got a complete 180 view of camping ministries and how they function, how they run. It's so different than how Skyview runs, but it works really well. So it was really cool to see that. It was just eye-opening, because at first it was like, oh, this isn't Skyview. How do you run? And we finally learned and we were growing, and they have such a family and friend-oriented viewpoint. It was really cool. I got to see more of like a love towards these campers in a family-oriented way, because they were almost all related. They knew each other. They've been coming. Their retention rate's huge. So it was really cool to see that. It was very much like Skyview, but 100% different at the same time.
I wanted to just really focus on some of the relationships with these wonderful people and with a couple other teammates who aren't here right now, Matt, ACL, and David. They're off, onto the next stage of things. So that's really great, just getting to know them, getting to hang out with these people. And also just everybody at the camp, whether the staff members in Scotland that we got to hang out with and fellowship with for an evening, and everybody at the camp in Illinois at Heartland. There's just such a sense of family there and those relationships that it was really great, and they made it so easy to just fit right in and helping us feel like we belonged, honestly. We were the seven.
The seven. They all knew about us. Even the campers.
Yeah.
They knew about the seven.
You're like, oh, you're from Scotland?
Then we just said yes.
I have
too long of a story, so yes.
Yes. Or from Scotland.
For the day we were in Scotland, I actually got to meet a new friend there. Her name is Billie Jean. We became friends by her dive tackling me into Loch Lomond. I wasn't really prepared, but it was awesome. Definitely relationship building right there. But I only knew her for a couple of hours, but we talked the whole time. She gave me her email address, her actual address. She wants me to send her American things and just talk to her and grow and develop that relationship more. It was really cool. I only got to know her for a little bit, but it was awesome to meet someone in Scotland, and since we had such a difference in perspective, it really brought us close together.
For me, my main relationships probably happened in Illinois. I was in a cabin with campers, which was actually the first time I've ever had that experience. Aww. And so it was taking me outside my comfort zone, for sure. but I just loved the opportunity, and there were a couple campers in particular that I just really grew very, very close with. And I had great conversations. One in particular, we just kind of had our own little meal together during one of the picnics, and she just told me her whole life story. Like, she just kept going and going and going. It was just like she needed somebody just to tell. And I was just appreciative that I could be that person, and yeah, I will always remember Sarah, and I'm excited to just continue that friendship, thankfully, with email and Facebook and everything. So that was definitely the most important and valuable relationship that I made.
In Illinois, I got to meet Jesse. He was the head counselor, and it was really cool. One day, he sat down beside me and Danny at lunch, and he said, "Is this camp anything like yours?" And it was very different, but we got to share with each other the differences between the camps, and it was a good experience learning from him, and he got to learn from us. And then he kind of just was pouring out his life and said this week was a week of conviction, and I could really relate to that, and just how God was working in my life, and how he brought me to a different place than I expected, and just opened up my eyes where I wasn't wanting to see where he was working. And just through the relationships that we built in Illinois, I was able to really see how God was working in the campers' lives, in the staff's lives, and my own life personally.
So for me personally, I got to be a really big part of their media department. It's all volunteer run, so it's basically whoever has a camera, whoever has the time, and they really wanted to start a couple big projects. Redoing their website, creating a brand new promotional videos, really updating everything. It was great just getting to hang out with their media staff that they had. So it was really cool just getting to talk with a bunch of different professionals in that field. So to say, just get to learn from them, and really I'm excited to stay in contact with them and just learn and grow from one another.
I personally saw God work in just the way that He placed us in different dorms. We were all split up into different ones, and the one that I was placed in was with a counselor named Brita, and she was a phenomenal person. I really appreciated her counseling ability, and she'd been there for the last couple of years doing this counseling because she has such a heart and such a love for young girls. It was really neat how God placed me in her cabin specifically, because the first night, we kind of shared our stories, and afterwards she came up to me and said, "I'd love to learn more about your story," and she'd been kind of struggling with similar things I've struggled with in my past. So it was just neat to see God work in that way, that brought two people together that if it wasn't for the circumstances that happened, there's no way we ever would have met. No way. But we did. We were in the same cabin for a week together, and we just really shared an awesome bond and stories together, and it was just awesome to grow together in that way. And I just really appreciated God doing that in my life.
As you can tell, we definitely had a lot of fun, and we've learned lots. I got to meet a lot of really cool people. But again, the whole thing is about God and what He's done. And for me personally, just seeing how He's worked, how He orchestrated this entire experience, so much so that if I can be bold enough to say, I think getting denied entry into the United Kingdom was really probably the smallest thing that happened on that entire trip, the smallest thing that he did. That was just that one catalytic event that really sparked this entire trip. And just all of the ways that we are able to be a blessing in Illinois, and how that camp is able to be a blessing to us as well. And just seeing how so many small things you could just take out of context and say that that was just a coincidence that their camp director, that their executive director just happened to be late. But because he happened to be late going to the start of camp, he was able to get our phone call and was able to actually say, "Hey, yeah, you guys can come, we have room for you." Or just the fact that they happened to have an executive assistant this year meant that they had the manpower to actually give us jobs and find places for us. Or because of this reason or that reason. So it was just really cool seeing him work and just showing his sovereignty in this entire trip, that really he wove this entire story and he had everything planned out. Really, when you take a step back, it's just one giant spider web of the 10 days that we are gone, and seeing him work in every single detail of that.
It was uncanny the amount of coincidences that happened to lead us to Illinois from Scotland. The previous Scotland executive director was actually at that camp, and he was running some of the events and all that other stuff. Like she said, the executive director of the camp now was running late, and that's the only way we would have gotten cell service. And the fact that the guy we were with, David, who was running the trip, knew about this camp and only runs 1 week. It was just really cool to see God's hand in all of that, because it's 100% not the direction we were going, literally different directions. So it was really cool to see that. A specific point, I actually got to talk to one of the girls in my cabin, and she didn't actually know Christ. She knew of him and she knew about him, but she didn't know him personally, and I was actually one of the first people to get to talk to her about that. and see where she was and see her growth. She didn't accept Christ at that point, but she was really interested in it, and she was very curious and eager to learn more. It was very awesome to see and witness and just to be a part of. There was also 6 baptisms, I believe, at the camp that was there. There were pastors from churches. It's all the same denomination, so that was really cool to witness as well.
The way I saw God working is that He is a planner, and even though we thought we had everything planned out in our expectations, He was planning something way bigger. And just the fact that when we called the camp, they were at the largest camp they had yet, with the most volunteers they had, but yet they were still needing more volunteers. And so what a blessing it was just to be able to show up, and they just fit us right in. And they could have very easily, not welcomed us and not wanted us there, but God was planning in their hearts and in their schedule that we should be there. And all through the week, the staff was just, oh, what a blessing you guys are here. You're supposed to be here. We know you were supposed to be here. And that just reassured that God had a bigger plan and wanted us to be there, and that we were able to be a blessing to them, and that we could also be blessed by just the warmth and the welcoming that the staff members gave us.